U.S. presidential election, Tokyo Olympics cancelled, engineer pandemic ushers in world government. The controlled demolition of the Khazarian mafia financial system is now visible for all to see. The 13% plunge in oil prices, the meltdown of stock and bond markets, and the freeze in world travel and trade are all being orchestrated in tandem with the fake pandemic. Multiple sources confirmed. The pandemic, which is mostly a media event, and the financial collapse, which is real, are the cover being used to usher in the World Republic. P3 Freemason, Illuminati, and CIA sources all confirm. The tricky event was the default on February 16 of the U.S. corporate government, they say. The aim of this controlled demolition is to remove sun-worshipping genocidal criminals from apex of world power. Pentagon and other sources say this will allow the release of forbidden technology and usher in a new age of wonder, they add. For example, old age will soon be a treatable condition, the sources say. To make this possible, a ruling class has been trying to kill us with pandemics, carcinogens, war, etc. It's being systematically hunted down and brought to justice, they add. They elaborate, U.S. troops sent to Europe for a NATO exercise may also engage in a rise of Zionists and deep state assets, but not just in Switzerland, but Brussels, Antwerp, Berlin, Paris, Amsterdam, and London. Inside the U.S., meanwhile, the presidential election process had already degenerated into a farce, with the Democratic nomination being obviously stolen for a senile, corrupt Joe Biden. Here's an example of a nonsense Biden in sweeping. If you want to nominate a Democrat, a lifelong Democrat, a proud Democrat, an obedient Obama Democrat, join us. One of CIA sources summed up the situation in this way. Trump is set to be the next president as he will declare martial law to protect the people, of course. It's estimated that up to 70% of Americans will be affected. He will cancel elections. Maybe he'll be the last president standing. He has been aware of this maneuver for a long time. The dominoes are starting to fall. The number of sealed indictments in the U.S. is now close to 160,000, and 1,630 indictments have actually been acted upon. So now it looks like many of these corporate crooks will finally end up in jail where they belong. There has also been a record number of corporate bosses quitting or losing their jobs since January. An NSI source elaborated by saying the president has ordered a full-scale investigation of all communication across the Gates Foundation, Event 201, WHO, CDC, and the major companies in the US and UK that have been most to gain from fake pandemic. An investigation of insider trading and media authors on the tech is also underway. CIA sources say this is intended to stop what has been detected in the past week. New bio-war attacks in which the live virus is being spread by drones and other means in Italy and Iran, with selected drops taking place in other countries to keep the fear alive. In Hong Kong, health officials will start clinical trials with the still unproven antiviral drug remdesivir to treat the new coronavirus, according to a CIA doctor. The cost, as with, be around $1,000 for a cost, and governments will pay the pharmaceutical company, of course, he notes. The company behind this is a Gates Foundation owned by Gilead Sciences. Imagine just 10 million doses to start with globally. This is $10 billion alone. Plus, look at what their stock prices will do. At the top of this particular pyramid can be found George P. Shust, Director Emeritus, Gilead Sciences, Deep State Trust, was U.S. Secretary of State from 1982 to 1989 and has also been Secretary of the Treasury. He was also head of the beach tech group that many Japanese believe was involved in the Kobe earthquake that killed 6,000 people in 1999. One CIA source says Gilead could be sitting on close to $12 billion in untapped stock market value, provided it has success with a potential new coronavirus vaccine. They will milk this For every penny their greed can steal, imagine what else it is a vaccine. An RFID chip perhaps? In any case, this doctor and other sources agree the Zionists cable is using a bioweaponized coronavirus scam as a cover. This virus seems to be the only killing elderly people with underlying health conditions, mostly pneumonia, they say. Notice there were no children or teenagers affected so far, the doctor notes. So a myth-virus that mostly affects old people close to death is being used to spread global fear and will end up with most governments in all countries closing their borders out of fear upon. The world will be on lockdown, then they will attempt to vaccinate everyone on the planet by mandate. The boys are in total panic mode, a CIA sources predicts. Here in Japan, Zionist slave Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has been trying to use the fake, exaggerated pandemic to usher in martial law. Instead, Abe is going to be removed, CIA sources promise. They are also saying Abe deserves everything he will be given. It will be interesting to see if he tries to make a deal and sing like a canary. For sure he will have a pet tool accident or sleep and fall on the soap in the shower and break his neck before he's able to spill the beans. There is also a battle raging in Vatican. Pope Francis was deliberately given a mutation of the virus. He will die soon. The Vatican would try and cover it up until they have a clone body double in place. This way they can control the narrative for the masses, alongside Illuminati sources say. P3 Freemason sources, however, say Francis had only mid-symptoms and is recovering. In the UK as well, Brexit is leading to a purge of German double agents, MI6 and Pentagon sources say. Here is more on fight from the Pentagon sources. After the firing of UBS, Credit Suisse CEO, Barclays CEO Ches Staley may be the another casualty, and its superior Jeffrey Epstein may have groomed this former JP Morgan banker and blackmailed the UK parliament to get him the top job. A former Barclays banker accuses the board and executive committee of Barclays Bank plc from 2011 to the present of stealing and hijacking the technology from the quantum financial system. Meanwhile, a senior MI6 sources say the following people need to be arrested in order to end the deep state control of the UK and Ireland. Queen Elizabeth in Court of St. James, Prime Minister Cameron, May and Johnson, President Michael D. Higgins of Ireland, the Joint Directorate of MI7, MI5, MI6, Andrew Parker and Alex Younger, Irish Civilian Police Commissioners Noreen O'Sullivan and Drew Harris, Baron Nathaniel Rothschild, and UK and Irish Cabinet Secretaries Mark Sidwell and Martin Fraser, both German double agents. These two men essentially run both countries irrespective of the Prime Minister of the day. There has already been a punch in Saudi Arabia where a Zionist takeover attempt was thwarted. 3 princes and dozens of military and Ministry of the Interior officials have been removed as a result. Immediately after the purge, a major oil war began. Both Russia and Saudi Arabia are flooding the world with oil even as the pandemic has radically cut demand. A senior CIA source says oil is out of date and most likely will drop by $10 per barrel before this is finished. The new energy technologies are ready to be released by Trump. One example of this type of technology at the link below will make hydrogen much cheaper than oil. This oil price collapse is putting an end to the oil of US dollar scam the Zionists have been using to extort the US and the world since the 1970s. They are being brought down now, CIA sources say. Pentagon sources agree, noting Israeli Defense Forces personnel have been banned from foreign travel as a resultantly stiffened International Criminal Court lowers the boom on not just war crimes of Israel, but those committed by US forces and the CIA in Afghanistan. Pentagon sources add that ICC probes may expand to CIA drone strikes, Afghan drug trafficking, and Israel war crimes against Syria, Yemen, Iraq, and Lebanon, as well as for using airliners as human shields. The source also note Third time is not the charm, as war criminal Bibi may finally be deposed as Prime Minister, and Trump maybe have outscored arrest of Zionists to the ICC. Netanyahu, like his puppet Abe, is trying to use the pandemic as an excuse for martial law, but the Israeli armed forces are not going to fight their own people on behalf of the Satan worshipping pedos Jew, Mossad sources promise. We are also getting mixed intelligence about the situation in China. CIA sources in Southeast Asia who interviewed Thai citizens recently evacuated from Wuhan say, the situation is far worse than what is being told in the media. People are bleeding out from the nose, eyes, ears, and lungs now. It is spreading much faster than anticipated. The actual deaths in Wuhan are close to 3 million, the city's largest cemetery on the planet. It will remain on lockdown. It started near Wuhan, where there has a massive electromagnetic radiation disasters connected with 5G. The microwave blast cooked the citizens from the inside out. The release of the virus occurred at about the same time to adjust the narrative. The massive pollution there adds the catastrophe. There was no curling order by Xi Jinping, more fear porn. There's a massive cover-up. This accident may be China's Chernobyl. A Chinese agent in Tokyo also says the situation is worse than the government admits. Asked about the Taiwanese and Russian reports by President Xi Jinping had been replaced, the source only said, There are several Xi Jinpings. Japanese businessmen with extensive links to China, however, say production is returning to normal across much of the country. To summarize, here's what we are seeing. Airlines grounded worldwide, almost all travel stopped, hotels, restaurants, and resorts empty around the world. Oil prices collapse, a global stock market read of between 40 to 50%. Global financial collapse, Wall Street will be closed, the P3 Freemason promised so. Game, set, match, reset. The phoenix rises and a new age dawns.